and welcome to Drive Thru HR, where discussions about HR, talent, technology, and workplace trends are always on the menu. And my name is Robin Schooling, and along with me is my co-host, Michael VanDervort, and we are doing a host show today with just us. Hello, Michael.
No guests. We've been bad about booking guests this year, Robin. I don't know, but anyway, it's good to see your face and hear your voice, and a few things that are happening that are kind of crazy. So we thought we'd do a host show and chew on some of that. So you could start us out. You had a couple of things in mind.
I did have a couple of things. And so timing wise, it is the first of the month as we're recording this. It's August 1st. And the jobs report came out this morning, the BLS jobs report here in the US. And interesting, again, there was, shock, dismay, feigned shock and dismay, I don't know, from certain quarters, but the numbers were interesting. Unemployment went up to 2%. And as is normal, they went back and did some revisions to the May and June numbers, and those came down. But in addition to that, today's job report showed that the net job creation over the last 3 months, now with those adjusted numbers, is 106,000. That's virtually zero. So that's basically saying, over the last 3 months that there has been zero job creation. And so one of the things that's interesting about it is this 3-month period then, this May, June, and July, is the weakest 3-month period of job growth since COVID. And then if you throw out COVID, you throw out 2020, and that was the anomaly that it was. It is the weakest 3-month period since 2010 in the aftermath of course, the Great Recession.
And the revisions for like 2 months ago, it went from like 147,000 jobs to like 14,000.
Yeah.
It was like, it was, and I was listening to NPR this morning on the way to work, and they said that, I don't remember who the commenter was, but they basically were saying, I don't think I've ever seen this. And this is somebody who's been doing reporting on jobs reports for 20 years. It they've never seen this. It's virtually unprecedented. I also was looking on Twitter a little bit, which is not the most reliable source of news, but there was an economist on there, and he was talking about like some of the under the hood stuff. And it's really notable that according to this gentleman, that manufacturing jobs are dropping off at nearly as fast as government jobs, which of course we know why the government jobs are dropping off, because they're reducing departments and all that kind of stuff. But so they're like some of the biggest sectors are being impacted as well. So it's kind of scary.
The under the hood stuff that I looked at a little bit of it this morning as well. The only sectors adding jobs are healthcare and social assistance, as they call it. And so you take those out, again, take those sectors out, then these last several months, it's been negative job growth. And I think that, listen to us, let's put on our prognosticator hats, but the uncertainty and what's happening every other day, you don't know what's happening with tariffs and this, that, and the other thing. And so I can understand manufacturing. I read this morning that was, it's an anecdotal thing, but it was a manufacturer, 100 employees in Ohio, I believe it was. And he I don't know what he was making, but he closed up shop, laid off his 100 employees. Because of the uncertainty of the economy, the puzzle that they have in manufacturing. And so those little things. But even if you look at big manufacturers, right, and auto manufacturers, as an example, I didn't necessarily see a number from Ford on any layoffs or anything, but they announced their earnings were down tremendously this year. So are there layoffs associated with that? Are there layoffs happening at Ford? Probably. I don't know. I don't know or not know, but.
Yeah, I don't know if there's layoffs right now, but there's, the opposite is there's not any hiring, obviously, because that's where no jobs. So even if it's simply by attrition at this point, we're not, we were maybe adding manufacturing jobs, over the last couple of years, but that certainly seems to be dead in the water
Yeah.
right now. The markets,
Yep.
the markets, I don't know where it stands now, but it was down 770 points early on over the turmoil over tariffs. So that, I mean, that bounce around, that's what it's been doing, but I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's very concerning. And certainly in the HR space, we see just, anecdotally again, but you see so many people looking for jobs or losing jobs,
Right.
and at all levels. While there is hiring, a lot of competition for it. So
Right.
it's a scary time. And then you've got the AI notion that AI is coming after entry level jobs. And so I suspect people are going to be very conservative and tentative for quite a while.
And it ties right back into the other, kind of moment in time that we are with people staying put and the less voluntary quits than we've had in the past. Certainly, again, 3 years ago, there were more voluntary quits than there are now, but people are staying put, I think, because of that uncertainty. If they have a job, they're they're more inclined to hold on to it. So there too, we see less
Yeah,
hiring.
where like a year and 2 years ago, we had
Right,
more people leaving jobs, right?
right,
Trying to chasing after the bigger number, the bigger check. The other thing, obviously, trend is lots of people aren't moving. Don't want to move from their current locations like they used
right.
to. So there's a whole lot of changes. And it just, yeah, it's just, I mean, we have obviously have no great answers here. We're just kind of pondering over what it means, but it's a challenging time for HR for sure. Recruiting, I mean,
Yeah.
SAP just bought
Success, smart
Smart
recruiters.
Recruiters.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a consolidation there. You wonder what, I know I was reading Matt's article. I didn't read all the way through it, but Matt Charney, our friend Matt Charney.
yeah,
So yeah, so he seems to think it's a great deal, but I would kind of wonder at the timing, I just like where we're headed. But I guess consolidation and that kind of stuff is where, that's how you, I guess that's how you build a kind of a firewall against some of some of these things. Take some,
hmm,
get your resources lined up. I don't know. Anyway, so another thing that you had mentioned that I had actually it was funny. I started putting some notes together, and then I saw your email, and I went, "Oh, good. I don't have to do that because that's been that kind of a morning so far." The one that you brought up and it just continues to blow my mind because, as you
yeah,
know, I watch this very carefully. Is
yeah,
Starbucks,
yep,
and normally when I mention Starbucks, I pivot right away to the union organizing that's gone
yep,
on there. In fact, I just did a webinar for our friends at HR Acuity on Wednesday, and I did a little research. Currently, the current number of Starbucks stores that have been organized stands at 637 locations as of July, and no collective bargaining agreement for any of the 637 stores. So the union has had a great success in organizing, but no success in gaining an agreement. And
yeah.
they
Interesting.
had they'd been bargaining for a while and making some progress to that under the previous CEO. But now there's a new CEO. He's not so new anymore. He's been there 6 months or 8 months, something like that, named Brian Nickel, and he's got his own individual style for sure. But he's not embracing the union at all. But even more than that, he's setting himself up almost like a target. It's kind of interesting. You want to talk about that piece of it?
Yeah, it's I found it fascinating of this little article that I read the other day, and I know you saw it because you saw when I linked out to it. So Starbucks not that long ago um instituted
Return to
a
office.
return to office policy, and everybody should, I forget what the parameters are, 3 days a week or whatever it is,
I
at
think it's
least
I
be in
think
the
it's
office.
4 days a week in the office and one day hybrid is what I think it
Yeah,
is, except for the CEO.
yeah. And so his attempt to work around it really is really what it amounts to is he has a home, or he lives
Newport Beach.
Newport Beach, California. And so, it'd be kind of hard for him to commute to Seattle every day from that undoubtedly luxurious home. So Starbucks has built a, like 4,600 square foot office 5 minutes from his home. Now, other Starbucks employees are able to use it. It is officially, quote, a Starbucks office. I highly doubt that others do. Maybe he's got an assistant or two that do. But it's basically they built an office for him 5 minutes from his home in California so that he can abide by the policy that he implemented, very easily. It's a very It's a workaround for sure. And it struck me as how vastly different his style as a CEO of that organization is from what we used to think of as Starbucks, right?
Mhm.
And their origins as a employer and sort of this culture of employees having a voice and all of the work that they did so very early on when they started and how well regarded because they were unique. They were different back in the day with some of the cultural attributes that they brought forth at the workplace. They are with him as the face of that, they're not there anymore in my mind.
It's interesting because I don't know if you know the history on that guy. He was the CEO at Chipotle, and he
I did not know that.
took over Chipotle after they had that food safety crisis a
Yeah,
few
yeah.
years ago. They went through their own sort of. But Chipotle was also considered a progressive brand with
Yes,
natural
yes.
food, all that kind of stuff. Built, once upon a time part of McDonald's, then spun off and went independent, and then their CEO, their founder, I forget his name, Steven something, left, and after that crisis happened. But they were headquartered in Denver when Brian Niccol took over Chipotle,
Huh.
and he moved Chipotle's headquarters from Denver to Newport Beach because he had a home there.
Oh,
So
oh, oh.
obviously he really wants to be in Newport Beach and has been able to leverage two companies to
Yep.
to provide him office space, which I guess is awesome in one way, but it's kind of an interesting look. Obviously, the union side are calling him out heavily for it, saying that you know it's they don't like it.
Right.
There's also some other kind of corporate campaign type stuff where they're bad talk, like the AFL-CIO said he made 6,666% more than the average Starbucks, that kind of thing. So he's taking his share of heat right now, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. I guess Starbucks board. I mean, I know, like, he
They
turned
believe
Chipotle
they
around.
believe he can turn around what they need to turn around,
Yeah,
apparently.
he turned Chipotle around, and so they've
Yeah,
invested a lot of money into him and his skill set, and so we'll see
yeah.
how it works. The first quarter, they just announced quarterly results, I think, last week, and at least that first quarter, since they've sort of started to get back to Starbucks, they're trying to go back to their roots. The finances didn't show that was had any big impact. So we'll see. Right now, it's still a struggle, still a work in progress, but it is interesting, and I guess he's a rock star CEO enough to carry the weight for now. So we'll see.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
So I know everybody in the world's talked about it, written a blog post, done whatever. We were going to do a show and then we didn't. I'm probably glad we did, but we have to give like the obligatory Drive Thru HR opinion of Kiss Cam, which I know you're over. My
I was over in about 24 hours after it happened. I was so over it.
my big thing was, um, and I'm sure other people have said this. It was amazing to me how much it focused in on the HR person, the lady,
Yes,
and
yes,
it's somebody from HR, and you can't trust HR, and
yes.
we don't really know the whole story. But what appears to have happened, obviously, is certainly bad judgment and nothing that an HR person should be caught doing. But people will people, and apparently they were peopling with each other. But the CEO, well, I mean, granted, yes, he resigned from his job and all this kind of stuff. But the conversation seemed, at least in what I saw, seemed to focus in a lot more laser like on the HR lady than it did on the CEO. And he was her boss, and
Yeah,
the classic, I'm not, the classic case is, like you get forced, whatever, who knows, but I don't know what happened. I have no idea, but it was not an HR issue. It was a individual choice and a
yeah,
bad look for leadership issue, in my opinion. So that's
yeah,
my 2 cents on it. And I think,
yeah. And
obviously
and
they
and
both got held accountable, but
And again, yeah, we don't know, and probably never anybody ever will know exactly truly what happened. But that was really what struck me, the vitriol against HR from folks out in the hinterlands, right? It was like she was this, horrible Jezebel, and this is why you can't trust HR. I didn't hear anybody saying this is why you can't trust your CEO, right? It's why you can't trust HR. I felt bad and I guess part of why I got sick of it was I it just went on and on and on. And as it went on, and yes, I chuckled and I laughed and there were some funny memes and whatever, but I felt bad pretty quickly because of this global pile on. If the two of them were operating in isolation, that's one thing, but they have families.
Mm-hmm.
And the poor man's wife had to like almost immediately disable all of her, anything in the socials, and sort of go into hiding. So that sort of annoyed me because it's like the tendency of the human beings to go too far with that sort of thing. I do wonder to what degree there was a little whiff of misogyny in it. Is what if it was a same-sex couple? What if it was two women, two men, and you moved away the dynamic of a man and a woman, which historically becomes this sort of fodder for giggles and, the Jezebel trope? Would that have changed it? I don't know, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it was a boneheaded move on their part. It doesn't necessarily mean they weren't doing their work, but it was caught out, it saw the light of day, and that was the assumption.
Yeah, I think my favorite meme didn't involve people at all. Well, it involved one person, but it was the alien from the Alien movies with his arms around Sigourney Weaver's character. So anyway, it was just, yeah, I was like, yeah, it got old really, really fast.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, I saw you posted on Evil HR Lady, Improved HR. You mentioned the fact that we're having a classic dress code discussion over there.
Yes.
50,000 people or something in the group, and we still talk about whether or not women should wear bras to work or not.
Right.
I guess I didn't actually see the discussion, but I think you did.
It was another one of those discussions. And of course, one of the rules in that Facebook group, which is a great rule and a necessary rule to have, is, never screenshot stuff in there or tell too much out of school. But, generally the discussion was around a female only, thing. In this scenario, right? Oh, we got a woman and our nipple is showing. Oh, my Lord. And so then all these people chime in with some of the worst takes, still, all these years later, about, human anatomy and how it appears in a shirt or a pair of pants or whatever. I mean, it's just hilarious. We're out here, with more important things to worry about than that, I think.
Starting with, do I still have a job?
That's
And
right.
can I help someone else get a job? Yeah, no kidding. So I think the last thing, you and John have been doing some cool stuff, and you have actually, in the face of the, like what we were just talking about with jobs and stuff, Human Reso, where you work, seems to be kind of thriving right now. And I just thought, and LRI, where I work, is that we actually had a record second quarter,
Huh.
and we're booming right now. So
Huh.
it, it's interesting to me that, it's like everything feels compartmentalized. But I was curious if you wanted to just talk a little bit about what you guys are doing, because I know you mentioned to me that you always wanted to work in a tech company, and now you are,
Yeah.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And today, August 1st, as we're recording this, is actually Human Reso's 13th anniversary. 13 years ago today, John hung out his shingle. And so we're kind of celebrating all day long, and we've got some testimonials, for want of a better word, from our employees going out all day long. It's amazing because it's like anything else, I think even when John started the company, sure, he wanted it to be successful and he wanted to grow. He had visions of what he wanted to do. But 13 years is amazing for the type of business that he started off with and what it's grown into, because at its core, at the core, we still do what he set out to do, right? It's, HR consulting, it's HR outsourcing, payroll outsourcing, leave man. So this outsourcing component is still very key to what we do. We come in, we have teams of HR coordinators and consultants and managers and payroll practitioners that operate as our clients' HR team or their payroll team. truly outsourcing. Leave, Lord, as a practitioner, I hated leave management. I would have loved to have outsourced leave management, right? So it is, that's still strong. But over the years, we have well over 30 employees now. So from the day that he hung his shingle out with him and one other person, plus family, right? Because families always goes along. But we're approaching 40 employees, and we do end-to-end HR stuff. We became a tech company really kind of last year. We built a couple of components. We've got an employment verification platform that we can help with that, and I'm just gonna say it, we white label a travel platform, but it's in place to help our clients if they should want those types of things. But we did an acquisition at the beginning of the year. We purchased a tech product that has been around for about 5 years. And so now we have full blown, basically 3 products, but they're all cohesive. They're all on one platform, but you can get the entirety, or you can get the 3 as separate components, but it's all built around that cycle of employee performance. I'm going to, kind of put that umbrella on it, but we have an engagement. It's basically a feedback platform to do pulse surveys, to kind of, I can set that up to do that as much as I want. It's mobile ready. It is, quick. It's easy. I can quickly keep the pulse, get the data in real time of what my employees are thinking and their feedback, so I can act on that, right? Because I'm getting it constantly. An employee can take 15 seconds a week and provide feedback. But then that wraps into that engagement platform also dovetails very nicely in with the performance management platform that's part of the product. And then we have a leadership development platform as well, which flows, again, very nicely out of performance management, in that if I'm an employee and I've gotten this feedback, perhaps from peers, right? Because there's some 360 components that you can use as well. And then I have my performance, my metrics with my conversations with my manager, my goals, my whatever. And so maybe it turns out that I need to work on my delegation skills, let's say. That I can take advantage of that right through the leadership platform and get access to trainings and a library, and let me go take these classes. Here's some work I can do and some tasks I can take on to develop and strengthen my delegation skills, whatever that is. And so it's really cool because I got to slide into a tech company,
And
thankfully, because we acquired one.
Yeah, and that's very cool. In my case, we just, I do like a weird mishmash of stuff, research and building community and social media and writing and all kinds of different stuff. And and we just added a second person to help with that. So we're in the process of expanding like some of the research that we're going to put out and do these things. And I guess where I wanted to go with this was it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about, like with jobs and everything. You and I are both, as we would say in our bios at some point, seasoned veterans in HR,
Yeah.
and yet we're still doing
Yeah.
stuff and still have the. So I guess I don't know what lesson there is to take from that. Stay relevant. Don't you never know exactly where you're going to find yourself. I'm really
Yeah.
happy to be where I'm at right now. I'm really happy to be able to do the kind of work that I love to do. And
Yeah.
I guess, for those that maybe aren't in that position right now, there are still things out there.
Yes.
But you have to stay current and that kind of thing. So I guess I want to make it. I don't feel like it's a super uplifting message, but I want like, don't give up, right? It's there's still things to do in the world.
Yeah. Well, and I think it is, because I actually was thinking about this the other day. One of the buzzwords in HR, certainly, but this is probably true in just business in general. One of our buzzwords that we're so very, very, very fond of is transformation, right? Let's transform our profession. Let's transform the industry. Let's, whatever. And so when you think about how people's jobs are changing, or specifically where I was thinking about this in the context of is how HR roles are changing. And here's, with the rise of AI, because we're looking to drive productivity in our organizations, et cetera. And Therefore, our HR jobs are going away, whatever that might be, whatever that conversation is. We're doing that. We're bringing in this technology. We're bringing in AI into our jobs, into our organizations under the guise of transformation. The flip side of that could be we view the flip side of that as, well, if we're transforming how the work is done by bringing in more technology, more AI, the flip side of that is, well, that's destruction for the traditional jobs or the traditional way of doing it. And so we can't allow that destruction to happen. So to your point, to turn that coin to the other side again, as individuals, we have to worry not about just the transformation of the roles or the professions or our organizations. We have to transform ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it gets right to your point of, what does that mean? And I think everybody needs to kind of think that through. I think it is staying relevant. It is staying curious. It is realizing that things are going to change. You cannot freaking hide your head in the sand. And so how do you individually, as an individual HR practitioner, because we've got an HR audience, as an individual HR practitioner, how do you transform yourself? And it may not be doing things the same way. And you may be doing something totally different than you're doing right now, 5 years from now. But you can still stay in the profession, but be open to that. What is that going to look like?
Yeah. And no magic advice there. And,
no,
we're fortunate, but I think that's true. And I guess that's a wrap. So anyway, it's good to catch up with you. I do actually have to go. I have to pick up my car. I'm getting my car back after it's been in the collision shop for 2 weeks. So I got to go do that transaction and get another car back to Enterprise and all the fun things that you have to do when something disrupts your life in a minor way. So I'm going to go do that. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll do another show probably in a week or so.
Fantastic.